Hi everyone, hope everyone is doing well. Today's project is a thrift store find that I'm reupholstering. I bought two of these chairs more than a year ago. They were $10 each, and of course, I was attracted to the chair because it has the chrome finish and certainly the price. Nobody wanted these. So I checked under the bottom and realized that these chairs were almost 32 years old. Delivery date May 1988. That's a while ago. So now I'm wondering if they're worth anything. Anyways, I noticed how tarnished the brass was and decided to try to clean it. I used the Pledge orange spray, which is fairly good in situations like this, and did a decent job, but we're talking about 32-year-old brass chair, so it could not completely fix what was wrong. There is still a lot of tarnish there, which I probably will have to end up spraying over. I know that a Rust-Oleum spray paint is not going to give me a brass finish, which is why I'm a little bit hesitant because it's not everywhere that has that tarnish look. Now, why did I wait so long to reupholster this chair, guys? I didn't know how to get the chair off of the frame. I just could not figure out how to get to the screw that held the chair onto the frame. I even took photos of it and showed it to an upholsterer, and he couldn't. But then I found it after, as you see there. There were these two screws at the back of the front legs. Never saw them. So once you unscrew those, the pieces at the front came off, and that's where you can now see how it's attached. There's another screw right in there that once you got that out, the chair was out of the frame. So I'm going through all this, guys, just to show you in case there is someone who come upon these chairs and are hesitant, to reupholster them. This is how you get them out of the frame. I searched YouTube hoping that I would find something similar, and there wasn't anything. So once it's out of the frame, it was smooth going. Another thing too, guys, I reupholstered this chair a few weeks ago. I used my $3.99 fabric from my favorite discount store in Jamaica, Queens, New York, but the problem was it was very thick, and this was the first time I was working with a chair with a curved back. So when I completed the project, it just did not look smooth, and also the color just looked blah. I decided then I wanted to do a print. So I just used a template of that old upholstery and cut out the seat portion, and I'm using my staple, and this is the stapler I'm using, and I like it because it's really quite effective. It was very easy to use. So I'm smoothing the fabric onto the seat. I'm gonna put in some anchor staples, I'm gonna call them, because they're just temporary while I get it in place. Then I'm going to feel into the back where, based on the structure of the chair, you're gonna find an obstruction there, and you have to now cut these U into the fabric so you can get to push the fabric through to pull it under the seat to staple it. So that's what you see me doing. I'm feeling for the obstruction, and generally every chair has this, and you have to cut a little U into the fabric. Don't cut too far towards the front of the fabric because then it's gonna show. And then you now are able to push it through and pull it out so you can staple it in place. And there's generally four of them, two in the back and then two to the front of the chair, more so to the front. And see, you're gonna then you pull it out, and when you staple that, you're gonna staple that underneath the seat because you're gonna come through that same area when you're putting in the fabric for the inner back of the chair. So there I am pulling through the side now onto the side portion. So this is the second obstruction, the third obstruction I'm talking about, since there are four of them, two in the back and one on either side. And you see there, this one is a little wide, so my U is going to be a wider U. See? And then now I'm able to just stuff that in and pull it out. And also on the other side. So this is the seat. Once I have done all that, cut my U's and pull it through and make sure it's smooth. Make sure my fabric is laying straight, that my print isn't off since I'm working with a print. And now I'm ready to staple. So you're going to pull it taut and put your staples in. Now I'm going to remove my anchor staples and tighten the seat, because you want to make sure when someone sits in the seat it doesn't wrinkle. So now I'm moving to the sides, and I'm just going to fold it over and staple it underneath. Because of how the frame is structured, you're not seeing the sides at all. So I didn't, spend a lot of time trying to get it a certain way, because you're not really going to see this. But whatever you do on one side, make sure you do the same on the other, and then you move on to cutting away the excess fabric from the seat that you just put in. Now moving on to the back, the inner back of the chair. This also, because it's curved, there were 3 pieces. When I cut the first set initially, I didn't cut it long enough. I cut it to the exact size that I took off the chair. Remember, the upholsterer is going to cut away the excess fabric. So you have to cut it a little bigger at the top and the bottom to give yourself some seam allowance, so you have enough to pull through and staple. Another thing you have to remember also is, if you're working with print, make sure they're running in the same direction. So I'm doing the seat vertically, the print I'm using it vertically on the chair. So when I cut the pieces for the inner back, I have to make sure that they're running in the same direction. If it's a solid fabric, you don't really have to worry that much. So if you notice here, I'm giving myself seam allowance at the top and the bottom, especially at the bottom where I'm going to be pulling it through that, that crevice, and then fold it under and then staple it onto the chair. So here they are. One more thing I want to show you. If you notice, for these 3 pieces, where the 2 pieces are going to be joined, I cut them to the exact size. Remember, you need your seam allowance more so at the ends and at the top and the bottom. This is the one time you're going to want to cut to exactly what they have, because these are pieces that are sewn together that are the size of the back of the chair. So you only need your seam allowance for the ends, the top, and the bottom. Okay, so what I did was I base stitched it with my hands, and then I'm kind of retrofitting this just to make sure it's the right size. I have enough seam allowance at the ends. I'm all dressed up because I was in the middle of a Zoom party, guys. Oh, the things you have to do on the quarantine. And once I saw that it fit, then I put the permanent stitches in. Of course, you are going to iron your fabric, because sometimes your fabric comes with fold marks, and also you just sewed a seam in, so you want to get that smooth. The whole idea is to get this looking like you bought it out of a store. So I'm going through the same process again, where I am feeling for the obstruction and cutting my little U's in so I can pull my fabric through. So in the middle of my Zoom party, I would stop and rush over and do a little bit more on it, but it was a good time hanging with my Haitian friends, listening to compa, I think they call their music. It was really fun. Okay, so there I'm pulling through and stapling, and you notice that I just stapled in the opposite direction. Now, one thing you have to remember with upholstery, especially when you are new to it, you're gonna make mistakes. There's gonna be situations where you have to, undo what you just did and correct it. If you get frustrated, just leave it and go back to it another day. The frustration is going to come. I can guarantee you that, guys. But just be patient. You're saving a ton of money doing this on your own. So when you staple the fabric for the back of the chair, you are stapling upwards, not under the seat like you did with the first paper you put down. Uh, Okay, so let me show you. This is what I'm talking about, guys. There's gonna be moments where you have to redo what you did. So this is the back of the chair once I've put the fabric on. It is wrinkly. You can see it's not taut, it's not smooth. So then I had to go back in. I had to remove the staples and start all over again, just tightening things up a bit. So it is going to happen. So while you're stapling, you need to have your staple remover right next to you. You also should have one of those pointy nose pliers, because sometimes when you try to remove a staple, it might break, and the pliers helps you to pull it out quite easily. So once I went through and redid what I the fixed the errors, this is what it looked like. So you see, guys, now we're seeing a firm, smooth back, no wrinkling when I press on it. That's the look you are going for. Next, I move on to the sides. And right here I'm just folding it over, and however I fold on one side, I'm going to do the same on the other because I want it to look uniform. Upholstering requires a lot of patience, guys. You're gonna be fixing and fixing and fixing. So what I did to one side, I did the same to the other. Uniformity is key. Now again, I'm cutting away the excess fabric. Moving on to the back piece, again it's in three pieces. I cut with seam allowance at the top and the bottom, and I'm going to be putting the fabric right up to the edge of the back right there. I'm not gonna have it looking like the chair did before. I thought that looked a little dated. It looks like something I would see in my grandmother's home. You see that lip there? I don't like that. Plus, you don't see chairs like that anymore. Um, so that's why I made the decision. Now, To put the back piece on, you need upholstery tack strip, and this you can get on Amazon. It comes in 20-yard lengths. I think it's about $15 for it. Back when I bought it in 2016, it was only $7 and change. But you'll have a lot for years. So you basically just put the fabric in place and lay the tack strip along where you want to have the fabric meet the back of the chair, and you staple it in place, then you fold it over. And this ensures you have a straight, smooth, seamless line. See what I mean, guys? You could not do that with just staples alone. In order for you to have that look, you definitely need the tack strip. This is where my staples start acting up. I ended up having to go back to my old staple, but I would definitely buy another one of these. With very little effort, the staples go really deep. So I'm done laying the tack strip, just pulling the fabric over. So we are about 85% done now, guys. See, it's quite doable. Just giving you a close up. And once I pull that taunt and staple it, it's gonna look even better. So I'm all happy. I'm 85% done, and then I come upon a problem here. Now, when I smooth the back there, I realized that I had a little too much fabric in the back, so I ended up having to put a pleat there. I really don't mind because I had no plans to pull this up and start all over. Especially too, since this chair is going to sit with the back to a wall. Both chairs are going to, and because the fabric is so busy, you don't really notice that there's a pleat there. You have to look very, very closely to see it. So that's what saved me. I will definitely ensure that I don't, have this situation when I reupholster the second chair. So moving to the sides now. This fabric I got from fabricguru.com. It was for $12.98 per yard. To finish the arms, I am going to use fabric glue. There is a contraption that upholsterers use. It's this metal strip with prongs, and you just wrap the fabric, fold it over in position, and hammer it in. But I don't have that. I'm going to use the glue, and it does a fairly good job, guys. I've done this before. I'm one person who use fabric glue a lot, especially when you don't want to be in a sewing situation. But here, this this glue, it doesn't leak, it doesn't discolor the fabric. I mean, it doesn't, yeah, it's really good, and it dries fairly quickly too, and it stays in place. You don't have to worry that it's gonna peel off, months down the road. And I got this one at Joann's Fabric, but any craft store you'll find it in. Getting rid of the excess finally, and putting the under portion on. Wish I had a new piece, but I'll do that later on. And here she is, guys. So I am very pleased with how this chair turned out. I was very displeased the first time I did it. It didn't look good at all. It looked really blah, especially with the color fabric that I had, that creamy beige. But I think this print, takes it up a notch. So on average, I would say each chair cost me about 40 something dollars. And if it weren't for our current situation, I definitely could have gotten fabric for way, way cheaper. But I'm happy. I really do like this print. 5 yards of fabric that covered both chairs, and I also got 2 lumbar pillows out of it. So not bad at all. As usual, I love to get your feedback. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye now.